Good evening, everyone. It's January the 16th, 2020, and it is 5 p.m. It's the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the El Paso Central Appraisal District. And I'll call roll. Where's my nice little roll thing? Freddie?
Present.
Eduardo?
Present.
Ronnie?
Present.
Chuck? Vince? New member Walter Miller.
Here.
Hi. Sam.
Present.
And Catherine is on the way. So with that, how about, what I'd like to ask the board is, due to what we just heard from Freddie, could we do number 1 and move up number 4, the public comment on our agenda, to go after 1, and then possibly number 5. She said she would like to be here, I'm sure, for her oath of office. And so we've got the judge here, but, just see how far we can extend that. And she also said she wanted to be here for the election of officers. So if that's with the board's approval, will that be okay?
Yes.
Yes, everybody's good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we move 4 and 5 up. Is it 1, 4, 5? Exactly, Mr. Taylor. Okay. So with that, could everyone stand for the pledge to the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you very much. And that would take us to agenda item number 1, employee recognitions. And we have a bunch of them tonight.
Yes, we are trying to catch up from a few, and one of the main ones, if I may stand for the board,
Yes,
one
ma'am.
of the main presentations we would like to make to our board of directors is we have an employee that's been here 21 years, and when I asked her, she's getting ready to retire, and when I ask people when they're going to retire if they want us to do anything, they always say, no, don't even tell anybody. And Miss Pearl Blanche said, oh, I want everyone to know, and I want the board to know, and I asked her if she would mind if the board presented her with her plaque, and she was very excited about that. So I would like to present Miss Pearl Blanche Aguilar, 21 Pearl has trained a lot of our employees, even though she's not a supervisor. We have a lot of employees that have gone to her just because of her years of wisdom and expertise and just being a joy to be around. For a lot of times, she used to keep a bed of fish on her desk, and so we would all go over and visit her fish, and as an excuse to visit with her. So she's been a big asset to the appraisal district and has just been great with customer service. And she is going to be extremely missed, but we are very happy for her and very excited that she's going on her next adventure. And she's young enough to enjoy the next adventure. That's the best part. So if y'all would mind doing a presentation and a photo with her. We do have her daughters here, and her son and daughter-in-law are watching it over YouTube. So the family is here. Y'all kind of stand over there so the camera can catch her and put her on for all of those YouTubers who have nothing better to do but watch our board meeting.
We know there's at least 2 of her.
We know it too.
Miss Sarah, can you guys scooch and just squeeze a little bit together?
We believe in togetherness.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you for all your years of service. Thank you. You're still beautiful and young, and you've got a
Let me go ahead and read this for everybody. It's presented to Pearl Blanche Aguilar in recognition of 21 years of outstanding loyalty and commitment to the El Paso Central Appraisal District. The Board of Directors, Dinah L. Kilgore, Executive Director, and EPCAD staff, thank you for your hard work and dedication. June 5th, 1999 to January 17th, 2020. Do you want to say anything, Pearl, since we got you up here?
Well, it's been fun.
Good.
You need more employees to come forward and work for you because you're a wonderful, wonderful
Oh,
leader.
thank you.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pearl.
Gabby will assist you.
Did somebody get a picture of her with the daughters?
Yes, well, we did yesterday at the luncheon.
You want it
We took
now?
a bunch of pictures. Would you like one now? Would you like to share with the board?
Put the picture there before the tears.
No, it's good.
No,
with the
that
tears.
was yesterday too.
Okay.
It was just, yeah.
Board members, I'm sorry, one more time with the.
Sounds good.
With the family. This is
Her grandsons came yesterday to the
Oh,
luncheon.
cool.
Her sons. See, this is proof that she actually worked here. Photographic proof.
there we go.
You guys ready? 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Nice to be able to do this. Okay, so you're not done yet.
Oh, yeah, we got,
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
get
Oh,
cozy.
yeah, we
Get
got-
back, yeah.
More pictures? Yes, sir. The first award I would like to present, Ms. Searles and board members, is Carlos Condova. We call him Charlie. He's in our mapping department, and he's had 20 years. Charlie, you here?
Yes.
Oh, he's coming? All right. He's one of our head mappers. He's an awesome person to work with the public. And when we decorate at Christmas time, he comes up with the best ideas.
Oh, cool.
So, Mr. Cordova, Charlie, the board members, they have a certificate for you.
Thanks, congrats.
Thank
Charlie.
you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Charlie, thank you very much. Sure appreciate it.
Congrats.
Now, you gotta sit in the middle for a picture.
Yep.
Everybody
Right
does
here.
picture.
Yes, squeeze right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next one we have is 30 years, Miss Lourdes
30
Key.
years.
30 years, she started off as a clerk, as one of our leads in our business personal property department. And you ask her about anything, and she's gonna know. So Lourdes, head on over and
Congratulations. Thank you.
This is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Could be 30 years. Thank you.
we do hire young, that was before the law changed. We could hire underage.
Thank you.
So much.
The next one we have is another 30-year lifer.
Wow.
Raul Madrigal. Raul, he's in our accounting department. You've met Rosa Goldman, our CFO. This is one of her right hand. Raul's been, I think, the whole time in accounting. So if you want to know the dirty secrets, he knows them. We want to thank Raul for his years.
Thank you for your service.
this isn't the end of it. Now we have 35 years.
35.
Yes, Miss Angie Avedaka. Angela? All right. Angie has worked in pretty much every department. She was a commercial appraiser, a business personal property appraiser, and for the last several years she's been in charge of our deeds and exemptions. With all the law changes, she's just awesome about keeping track of who gets her exemptions and who doesn't, and doing the audits. And we don't want her to leave. She's indispensable. So, Angie, thank you.
So much.
Another 35 years, Elizabeth Duenas. She has worked in commercial, business, personal property appraiser. She's now in charge of our training and our residential appraisers and others. Ms. Duenas, 35 years.
Yeah, another. They had you from babyhood.
We all started together as clerks back in, when did we start? Back in the 80s? So, and we worked at, I worked at the city tax office before the appraisal district, so
That's
we have
amazing.
a lot of years together. So, Ms. Duenas, thank you so much.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Another 35.
Oh my God.
Miss Patricia Quinteros, yeah, she's with accounting again. Rosa knows how to keep them. Patricia's in charge of our purchasing and our payroll, making sure everything gets into the system, working real tightly with Rosa Goldman, CFO. So everyone I'm introducing to you, we can't do without. So I'm very excited that they've stayed on as long as they have.
Thank you so much.
Next we have Miss Ana Reyes, and she and I started together in the business personal property department as clerks, and we worked our way up, and she's now with our research and development and helping run all the ratios and our queries and everything that we do. So Miss Reyes, come on up and get acknowledged.
Thank you for your work.
We're still young.
The conversation is about the age.
You heard 75.
Not 79.
Several of us, Miss Duenas, Miss Sanchez, Miss Reyes, our kids grew up together.
That is so
And
wonderful.
so our kids are now adults with kids of their own, and they still remember going to
That's
picnics
teamwork.
and being together.
Thank you so much.
Miss Sandra Salinas, another 35 years. Miss Salinas, are you here, Miss Sandra? She started out again as a clerk, and she's now one of our lead appraisers in the business personal property department.
Thank you so much.
One of the things that we really push here is to allow employees to grow with the organization by offering them opportunities in education. And you can see over the years how they've gone from just being an entry clerk to being our lead appraiser. So we're very, very excited about our staff.
Thank you so much.
And last but not least, Miss Evangelina Sanchez, we call her Vangie. Her son, her daughter, and my son were best buds. My son's name is Zach, and they adopted him and called him Zach Attack. And they hung out together and went to each other's proms and homecomings as friends. And when my son got married a year ago last June, his best man was her daughter.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, his best person, I guess you could call it. So Danji and I go way back. So Danji, please be recognized. 35 years.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
It's the twilight zone of the cat.
We, as you can tell, our staff has a lot of tenure here because of their knowledge and the training of the newer group coming in. I think that's why we excel so well in what we do in customer service and in our studies when they come in and do audits, and we have a great staff. Ana Cordova also has 35 years, but unfortunately, something came up today and she was not able to make it. And he does not want me to announce this, but because he didn't want to come up and have his picture, but Eddie Pettis back there with litigation has 25 years. So, but he doesn't have to come up, but there he is. Thank you, board members. I appreciate it.
You know, I'd like to say it's amazing the longevity of the employees. Thank you, Ms. Kilgore, for doing a good job, and thank you, board, for being a good board that, you know, we think of the employees of this district when making decisions. And I think that keeps them around extra long.
Thank you. And I will say this, they really appreciate being recognized by the board. We started this, Commissioner Pettis, Mr. Earls, just a couple of years, 4 or 5 years ago, and they really do appreciate coming to the board and meeting you face to face and letting you know their accomplishments. If somebody is not here 35 years, if they haven't been doing the job, so you can know that they're excellent employees. So thank you, board members, for allowing us to do this.
And we like seeing them. I mean, it's great to see the faces and the people that we're making those decisions for and about. Thank you. So since the board has said yes to this, we'll bring public comment up next. Is there anyone signed up for public comment?
No, ma'am, there's no one signed up for public comment.
Okay, so that'll take us down to agenda item number 5, approval and signing of the minutes from the November 21st, 2019 meeting. Is there a motion?
I motion that we approve the minutes of the 21st,
Second.
November 19th.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for your motion, and who's second? Thank you, Commissioner Pettis, for your second. Is there any, anybody have any discussion, any thoughts, questions about the minutes from that meeting? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you, Mr. Miller will abstain. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Okay, that took us through 4 and 5. Let's go to 7 if the board's in agreement. We'll do our tax. Did Ms. Carter leave? Oh, there she is.
She's here.
Okay. Ms. Carter, could we move your number 7 up? Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Tracy Carter, Taxpayer Liaison Officer. Well, I'm going to be short and sweet. The Appraiser Review Board will be in session January 21st to the 24th to hear late protests, motion to correct. And I'm still waiting on the State Comptroller's Office to release the Appraiser Review Board results for the year. So I'm hoping by the end of January I should have them. So hopefully by February I'll be able to give you all the results on those. And I'm happy to say that we still have 35 ARB members. Still have that. And the State Comptroller's ARB training will be held on April 28th and 29th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. We appreciate it.
While Ms. Carter is up here, I was going to wait to the director's report, but since we have her up here, there is a new committee that was set up by state legislature, and it's called the Property Tax Administration Advisory Board. It was done with the changes that were done in Senate Bill 2. This is a board that the comptroller had to put together. There are 15 appointees, and I'm very happy to say only 2 taxpayer liaisons were appointed to this board, and Ms. Carter was one of them. So,
That puts El Paso on the map. Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank the board because of you guys allowed me to be here. I'm around property owners. I get to hear their concerns. I get to assist them. And also because of Mrs. Kilgore, her achievements, she's given El Paso a good name. And because of that, the State Comptroller's Office has noticed El Paso. Thank
Well,
you.
we're sure thankful. Thank you. Okay. Chief Appraisers report?
Sure.
That'd be agenda number 9.
Okay, a couple of things going on. At the last meeting in November, we talked about the county. You remember the VIT penalty, Mr. Longfield, when we talked about Mr. Trimble on the car dealers? And so I have a number for you guys for from May through December. We received $17,638 in our share of their of what they charged people that were not in compliance, car dealers that were not in compliance. And we just received a check for December for $680. So we are getting some nice return on our agreement with the county. They do the compliance. They have the compliance officers. They do all of that. We are getting that percentage. And so I was just really excited to be able to tell you how much of a percentage that is that we've collected. We basically get 20% of what they collect. So from May to December, almost $18,000. So nice little revenue there. Just to let everybody know, we've met with the city tax office on a couple of things. We will have a mobile unit in our parking lot from December 27th through December 31st, where property owners can come and pay for their property taxes. So they don't have to go downtown. And in this mobile unit, they can do cash, credit cards, not credit cards, I'm sorry, cash, checks or cashier's checks, money orders, no credit cards. But that mobile unit, we've expanded it from 3 days to 5 because it has become so popular with the taxpayers being able to come here to pay their property taxes. So we'll be letting them use our parking lot for 5 days. Also, I wanted to let you know we are working with, I contacted Ms. Claudia Ordaz Pettis' office to offer our facilities. It is 2020 census, and we have a lot of public that come through our building, especially during the hearings. So I have contacted them and have asked them if they would like to set up some form of an informational booth or a table or something, because we do have so much of the public comes into our building. And so I'm waiting to get back from them to see if they would like to use our facilities to have somebody here to help with the census. We are also going to be doing a neighborhood outreach. In February, we're working with United Health Community Outreach Services for February 10th, 11th, 12th, and 14th. They do all the advertising. People come in, and then we do a training on what we are, who we are, and how we can assist, especially senior citizens. So we're working with them to do an outreach here at our facility. We also talked to the city tax office. Truth in Taxation went through a bunch of changes, and we have to have a website. We have to maintain the website that shows all of the taxing entities' different tax rates and when they have their rate hearings and who they have to contact. So we got with the city tax office, since they are the collectors, and we are going to put on a training, probably one in May and one in June, and invite all the taxing entities here. By then, we'll have the website ready to demonstrate and show them how they will have their own code to get into that website and put that information in there. So we met with the tax office, and we're going to be putting all of that together and inviting everybody. Once we have the website up and running and we've tested it, then we'll be meeting. Has to go into place by the time we certify in July, because the taxing entities, what we're trying to do is get it up and running, because a lot of school districts will set their rates in June because they have a July 1 fiscal year. So that's something that we are working on. One more thing, I wanted to congratulate Mr. James Thompson, Mr. Rick Medina, who is not here today, and Mr. Albert Molina. They received the Residential Evaluation Specialist, RES. They passed the case study and the exam. And that is another designation with the International Association of Assessing Officers. So I wanted to throw them under the bus here in front of the camera and the board members to congratulate them. And I'll let it go with that because I know we have other things.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kilgore. And with that, I'd like to go back to agenda item number 2, which is the oath of officers for the board.
All of you should have the oath for you to sign. And we have a notary.
Thank you very much, Judge, for bearing with us tonight.
Well, I understand that
appreciate
she's
your
still stuck in
patience, sir.
traffic, and it's a shame. But I want to thank Chairwoman, the board, for inviting me. Every November, I think of you very fondly when I get my tax appraisal in the mail. So with that in mind, will everybody stand? And my name is Eduardo Gamboa. I'm the judge of probate, statutory probate court number 2 here in El Paso. Raise your right hands, please. I
I,
state your names.
Laurie Searles,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office as a member
of the office as a
of
member
the Board of Directors
of the Board of Directors
of the El Paso Central Appraisal District,
of the El Paso Central Appraisal District,
the state of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will,
and will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
preserve,
serve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much. I want to thank whoever did the copy, because I didn't need my glasses to read. Good luck to you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Do we need the
and
judge
we-
to sign it before you leave? Oh, okay.
No, just sign
sir.
it and
Go ahead.
Okay.
she'll. And when, Ms. Lucero, we can swear her in.
Yes.
Individually. Oh,
Oh, she just
just came in.
Judge
Oh.
just, Judge.
that's okay.
Miss Lucero, the judge has waited and waited for you. We just took the oath.
But
So
he's
if
still
you'll-
here, so
He's still
he'll-
here, so if you'll quickly
Go in
let
the
him
hall.
give you your oath of office.
All right.
Caught him
And
before
we
he
all
left.
get to watch, just you.
Yeah. It's all about you, Miss Lucero. Just raise your right hand. And could the record please note, it is 5:28, and Miss Lucero has just joined the meeting and will take the oath of office under agenda item number 2.
Good evening. I state your name.
Catherine Rosenstock,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office as a member
the duties of the office as a member
of the Board of Directors
of the Board of Directors
of the El Paso Central Appraisal District
of the El Paso Central Appraisal District,
of the state of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will,
and will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
preserve,
serve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
help me God.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good.
Thank you, Judge, very much.
Awesome.
Miss Lucero, we're glad you made it. To catch you up, we went through agenda item 1, 4, 5, 7, and 9. We just did 2, and we're ready for 3. But we're going to wait. Mr. Taylor has stepped out for a minute, so with the board's permission, we'll wait till he returns. And that'll give Ms. Lucero a chance to acclimate.
And in the meantime, I can remind the board members, it is in your packet regarding the positions that we have. We have chairman, secretary, and vice chairman. And every year after the swearing in, if at all possible, we go back to the board and have them appoint the officers for the current year, so for 2020.
You're gonna be the next guy? Super chair.
This gives my staff a chance to make sure they have all the oaths, so they can check them, count them, make sure we have them all.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Okay, Mr. Taylor has returned. So if everybody's ready, that would take us to agenda item number 2, election of board officers for 2020 Board of Directors. And is there a motion to open the floor for nominations, please?
A motion to open the floor for nominations.
Okay. So are there any nominations for chair? That'll be our first position.
I think with any, go ahead, sorry. No, please. So we're starting top down, or?
Yes, sure.
I think with any organization, it's always good to be able to transition when it comes to chair people, vice chairs, and secretaries, in order to kind of keep things moving and not ever, I hate to use the term like get in a rut or anything like that, but it's just important to keep things moving. With that said, I think Ms. Searles has done a fantastic job, and everything I've witnessed has been truly selfless, and appreciate your service. And I'd like to nominate Vince Perez as chair moving forward.
Are there any other nominations? Everybody good? Do I have a motion to cease nominations for the chair?
So moved.
So moved. All in, that's it? So all in favor of Mr. Pettis as chair?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I'm going to pass you the gavel, Vince. And
No pressure, right?
let you take over.
Okay. So the other two remaining positions for members are vice chair. So is there a motion to open up the nominations for vice chair?
Move to open for the nomination of the vice chair.
There's a motion by Ms. Searles and a second by Mr. Miller. Those in favor?
Sorry.
Aye. Those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So the floor is open for any nominations for vice chair for any members interested in serving as vice chair.
I would like to nominate Freddie Kale Avalos as vice chair.
Oh, I'm answering you.
I'm not as eloquent
I
as
was about to raise my hand to volunteer. Oh, second.
Is there any other nominations? Okay. So let's proceed with the vote. There was a motion to nominate Freddie Kyle Avalos as vice chair. And second? Who made? I'm sorry. Who made the second? Who made the first? Okay. So there's a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The third position, I believe, is secretary of the board. So is there a motion to open up the floor for nominations for secretary of the board?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Trimble, second by Alderman Miller. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The floor is now open for nominations for secretary.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Catherine Rose Lucero.
Second.
Okay, there's a nomination for Ms. Catherine Rosas in a second. Any other nominations for? Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Kyle Avalos and a second by Mr. Mena. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, all right. Congratulations to the new board members.
Just walk in and become secretary. That's just like this.
Thank you.
So since we move things out of order, let's see, what's the next item, I think, was number 6.
Number 6, yes.
Yes.
So item number 6 is discussion and the possible action regarding the designation of a voting delegate and alternate to attend the 2020 Texas Association of Texas Appraisal Districts Conference.
Mr. Chairman and board members, in your packet, you did receive, back in November, we gave you the information, and then we included it in the packet that went out for this meeting. The information regarding the Texas Association of Appraisal Districts meeting. Every appraisal district is to have a designated voting delegate and an alternate, and it has to be a board member or a director of the appraisal district, like an employee, like myself, Mr. Molina, Mr. Stone, or board member. We've always tried to have a board member as the delegate and the alternate. And at the Texas Association of Appraisal Districts conference, there'll be a meeting regarding the association and any changes to the bylaws, the officers, you'll be required to be there to vote. Do y'all have any questions to me? I know several of you, Mr. Trimble, you've been, Mr. Pettis, Ms. Searles, Mr. Taylor have been, so you understand the process. At the conference, they have training sessions that are geared for appraisers and for board of directors. And they have a track that is just for board of directors, where they they bring in lawyers and different folks to come in and talk about what your duties are, what you can and can't do, and just to visit with you on some of the issues. They talk about budgeting, they talk about security, liability. So there is a track that is strictly for board members, but there's also appraisal tracks that you can to go into. You're not restricted to one or the other. I think you attended a couple, Mr. Trimble, that were not.
Lots of different, yeah, it was, anyone who hasn't been, I'd recommend going for sure.
And Ms. Kilgore, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, although we will designate a voting member, I believe in the budget, there is funding for other board members to attend. And
Definitely.
So, I'd
And we
highly
would love for
encourage,
them to attend.
so even though only one member will be chosen as a voting delegate, I highly encourage anybody who has not attended or is a new member to take advantage of that opportunity. Your agency doesn't have to pay for that. It is something that's funded and set aside in the Central Appraisal District budget.
We would appreciate if you would let us know today so we can get you that registration early bird and get the flights. We can work with you. But if you need to let us know by next week, if you can let us know, other than the voting delegate, we need to do that one today. But at least by next Wednesday, check your calendars if you don't already know today. We would love as many of y'all that would like to go. We've got funding. If we don't have it under the board of directors, it's part of our educational funding. We would love for the board of directors to be able to attend this. It's very informative, as Commissioner Pettis can tell you. He's been there.
Okay, so are there any members, is there any, I guess, nominations for an individual to be the voting representative to represent the El Paso Board of Directors for the Central Appraisal District as a voting member?
Who's going?
No, y'all haven't told us yet.
First,
Who wants to go?
I guess first order of business is we have to designate an actual voting member.
But we need to know if they're going to go, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean,
It'll be assumed if they're the voting member that they'll go, and then I think another handful will end up going.
Okay. Oh,
is there anybody would like to?
I definitely recommend, since a lot of us, at least Vince, Mr. Earls, myself, and Chuck have all done it, so I would say someone else. It's an interesting experience. You go in on behalf of the El Paso Board of Directors and vote at the state level. So if any of the, I guess 5 of you technically are interested.
I would like to go, but not as a delegate in case my wife says I can't go. Essentially, because
You realize this is being recorded,
I'm
right?
like, that's
I say that because there might be something programmed. That date sounds really familiar, but I would like to go, as you said, to learn about the experience. But I think Eddie.
And Ms. Kilgore, and what are the items that a voting delegate would vote on at the conference?
Well, there's a kind of a sample agenda in your packet, and what they'll be voting on is the new officers. Or they will be, the new officers, the nomination committee will be presenting the slate of new officers, so you'll vote on them. You'll vote on any changes to the bylaws for the appraisal district, any legislative changes that we have had to implement. There may be something that will have to be voted on through that. There will be an executive director's report that will tell you the status of the organization. Our conferences, we usually have around 700 to 750 attendees. Every appraisal district is a member, other than I think 5. There's 240 appraisal districts, so they're well attended. You would be approving the treasurer's report. They'd be giving you a detailed treasurer's report on the assets that the organization has. So that would be part of what you would be voting on.
So would it be more appropriate that that are more senior, or somebody who's been on the board, I guess who has more tenure on the board, be the voting delegate, since it's open to everybody and,
Sure.
and everybody else go in a sort of a learning capacity?
Right, and at the delegate assembly, anybody can attend the meeting. So I believe Commissioner Pettis and Mr. Trimble, you guys attended the meeting even though you weren't the delegate. Ms. Searles, I think you attended. So you can attend as just a member to see how the delegate meeting goes and what all they talk about. You don't have to be the one that was appointed as the delegate. That's the only one who can vote, but the board members, definitely you would want to see, if you're interested in the process of the organization, this is when you would learn.
I nominate Commissioner Pettis.
I'm unable to go this year,
I
but I'd
nominate
certainly.
Ms. Searles.
Okay, there's not.
I'm not, I think I'm supposed to go to another training that weekend, but this is why you hear me tear it out of the book. I can call you tomorrow and let you know.
Okay. Then
I
we'll
can
get
be
an
the-
alternate also, so that if you can't, then
The alternate.
And then let us know who might be wanting us to hold off to see who might want to check their calendars and let us know. Y'all can tell us that too. That way we can kind of get things going. We have rooms reserved under other people's names, so we just have to flip them so that we could make sure we have
I'll
plenty.
nominate Walter
groups.
Miller as the alternate, and that way, if Mr. Earls is unable to tomorrow, then he'll, and so this decision's made,
But we
right?
need another alternate in case he becomes the real one
But
and
at
the
least we'll know,
alternate's
but
alternate.
at
Oh,
least.
you're good. The two is good.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we'll at least we'll know tomorrow who the delegate is, so you need
Right.
that, right?
Right,
Okay.
right, and we'll be good, I mean, delegate or an alternate, so. And
so-
of course, as a board member, you don't have to be there the entire time. I know some board members come in, instead of coming in on Sunday, our staff comes in because there's continuing education units that they have to have. But some of the board members will come in on that Monday and be there for all the opening ceremonies. Maybe they'll come in, you know, it's in Dallas, so there's an early morning flight. I think there's a flight that gets you there like at 10 something. So the flights are a little bit better, 9:40. So, and then there's another one at 12:15. So you can come in and then just be there for the afternoon of Monday and then all day Tuesday, and then we finish up Wednesday morning. But the delegate assembly would be Tuesday, and that's when we would definitely need the delegate person there, but they would not have to be there for the whole thing.
Okay, so Mr. Trimble, is that a motion for make Ms. Searles the primary voting delegate, and if she's unable to attend, then Alderman Miller will serve as the alternate voting member for the.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr.
Second.
Trimble, second by Mr. Lowenfield. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. And again, and then for any board members that would like to attend or have the availability in their schedule, please let the staff know as soon as possible so they can make proper arrangements, because prices do go up as you get closer. And I remember there's overflow hotels and other things like that. So you want to get in as soon as possible.
Right, we did have to have a couple in the
Chuck
other
had the
hotel,
same-
but
same
hopefully we
Antonio.
reserved enough rooms, but we do have to turn them in if we don't use them. So anybody who's interested, please, if you can let us know by, well, we're closed on Monday, but next Thursday, maybe a week from today, and give us. Now, we understand, just like everybody, things happen, and you may have to cancel. Just keep us informed. If you have to cancel, we totally understand, but we'd rather have you booked and not worry about trying to book you late so that you're in the host hotel. Being Dallas, like I said, the flights are a lot easier getting in and out of Dallas. Mr. Avalos, you're kind of interested? Can I put you
I'm
down with a
interested.
question mark?
Let me just check my dates, and I will get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay. Ms. Lucero, okay. I'm not putting these down as definites, but as potential for us to follow up with. Mr.
Previous
Lawson?
engagement, can't make it.
Okay. Mr. Mena? No, okay. Mr. Trimble?
Okay. That moves us on to item number 8, reports on settled lawsuits.
Board members, the board in the past has asked that, we have several lawsuits that are filed by property tax owners. What we do is we come to the board in executive session when we have a question on one that's going all the way to court, or there's a large property that the board needs to be aware of. But because we have over 450 lawsuits, we have mediation and deliberations and arbitrations that we do with the property owners. The board has asked for us to put together just an informational sheet. It was out in your packet when we sent out the packet for you to have a chance to look at. It has a lot of information on it. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Molina. He is our Director of Litigation. So if there's anyone in specific, we're not going to go over them item by item. That would take a lot of time. But if there's anything in specific that you have a question about, please feel free. Informational purposes only. These are already settled suits.
Judge, you should have received two spreadsheets in your packet, one for November and one for December. These are lawsuits that were either settled through arbitration, I'm sorry, not arbitration, mediation or settlement conference. And if you look at your spreadsheet, the main purpose of the spreadsheet that the board had asked is to see how much we're spending at legal fees or attorney's fees. And that would be our last column, column S. But you can compare column H to column M. That's last year's value to the settled value for this year on each of these lawsuits. These lawsuits are usually settled by the taxpayer or the agent providing us income information, or they provide us the sales information, or maybe condition of the property at the time, and that's how we determine, the adjustment made to the property. On most of these, the values change. If you look in November, what is it, Oasis Arden, basically there was no change in value. So that and column F, if you're interested in your entity, school district that you might represent, it'll indicate where these lawsuits are from, where these properties are located. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Earls?
Yes. Can I just ask you a real simple question?
Yes, ma'am.
Canutio here is noted as C-A-N-I-S-D, right?
Yes,
Okay.
C-A-I-S-D.
C-A-N-I-S-D.
Yes.
Okay.
The other, because we have Clint.
Yes,
Oh,
so
I'm
Clint
sorry.
did
Yes.
C-I-S-D.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
If you compare your November to December one, you notice that there's a lot more lawsuits that were settled during that time period. And this is because agents want to get them settled before the taxes become due. So that's why they come in and try to get them settled then. So we were pretty busy in December.
And strip store means just like a strip parking lot, or it's not like a strip store, right?
No, it's not like, not like with the poles and all that kind of thing and the music.
Not that.
No, it's like a shopping center, strip
Thank
shopping
you.
center, yes.
They say, God, we sure have a lot of those here nowadays.
It's like your River Oaks and Mimco, little shopping centers.
Please excuse the uninformed question, but these are all ISDs, or all, most of the lawsuits from, in fact, they're all ISDs.
Right, but this is
Anybody
just
ever-
we're looking
anybody
at the
else
school
ever gets-
districts. No, we're not looking at the cities or counties, because that way you know which school district they're in.
Okay, so this is a suit in general and not in a particular, right? Okay.
Right, yes, sir.
Right, thanks.
Because I guess in Horizon, you all are split. You have
Yeah,
Socorro
Some would
State
be-
and Socorro now.
Yes, some would be CISD, Clint ISD, and some would be SISD.
SISD.
Yes, sir. Your school districts are the entities that have the higher tax rate, and so they can also protest and then go through the comptroller's office to try to get some refunds on some of these suits. So, why we divide it by school districts.
Divided, that's just for the form.
Yes, sir.
All right, all right.
And Ms. Kilgore, when will the annual training be for the board members? I know every year we have the training.
Right after this, 6
Okay,
o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So that way they can understand the
Yes.
different, the ARB and, yeah, one question I had was the new law that took effect that I guess when the ARB sets a value, I guess it can't be settled at a higher rate of what the ARB set,
Right.
which used to be the law before this year. Does that apply retroactively to lawsuits that are settled? So like let's say in December.
No, sir, not, it is from the time, I believe it's a January 1 date forward.
Okay. So
Yeah,
whenever a new lawsuit was initiated moving forward.
Right.
the
And we
lawsuits
won't,
that were
we won't have any new lawsuits until after the notices go out for 2020. So for the year 2020, that's when we'll have that law change.
So for the new members, I mean, there was, every year, there's new laws passed that affect central appraisal districts across the state, and whenever somebody challenges the CAD's valuation, it goes to the ARBs, and even though it may be upheld, or ARB may recommend a higher valuation, that's no longer, I think, or at what point is it where it's no longer allowed? At the settlement phase, I guess, right, a judge can't set
Right, a judge
a
can't
property
set a-
value higher than what was the ARB
Correct,
level.
or a jury,
Or a jury.
right.
Which used to be the case, is that there used to be circumstances where the ARB would set the property at a certain level, but once the case would proceed, let's say, to court or through the settlement process, the settlement could come in higher at what the ARB had.
And I think there'll be some challenges for us going forward with this. We'll see how it plays out. But the suits that we already have existing will not be under this one, so we'll be able to go with the old law. One thing I did want to remind the board members before we go into executive session, you do have an envelope that has some information. Commissioner Pettis, thank you for making that comment, because there is an article in there from a reporter in Dallas talking about the inequities of what properties sell for and what the Dallas Appraisal District can have on the tax roll or the appraisal roll. So anytime we see any articles, we'll see a lot more as we get started into the next protest season. We'll always have a packet for you with the articles for general information for the board members.
And then for commercial entities, are they subject to the 3-year rule where the property value has to remain constant for 3 years?
It's now under, is it clear and concise?
Clear and convincing.
Clear and convincing evidence now, but there's no definition as to what is clear and convincing evidence. So in commercial properties, if we raise the value, if a value is set by the appraisal review board, and the next year we raise it, or the next year or the third year, which is, we're in a 3-year reappraisal cycle according to the law, we have to have clear and convincing evidence to allow that increase to go into place. We don't know what the definition is, clear and convincing, because legislature didn't define it. So that'll be something that we'll be working on, because I can tell you right now, we'll probably have some property agents that will file lawsuits on that, and we'll just have to play it out for 2020, but that goes into effect 2020. Yeah, yes, sir. Did that answer your question, Commissioner Pettis? It's going to be an interesting year. See what happens, what plays out.
All right, board members. I know there's a lot of information on here, board members, but I mean, I strongly encourage you to review this when you have time, because it is very valuable information. Staff does spend a lot of time compiling this to give us as much information as possible. But.
And this was in direct response to some things that we had asked for in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And within a board meeting, we had it, and we've already added several more columns, and we'll probably get to where we're using legal paper or something at some point.
No
And
problem.
That would be the other thing too, just because of the detail that we've gotten into here. I would say that at some point, maybe not today, but at some point it might be a good idea to go through and just go, the first 5 or 6 or 7 are pretty obvious, but other than that, just to give a quick definition so that everyone that hasn't been here gets an easy idea, because there's a lot going on here. So.
Yeah, there is a lot across the top, and you can see with the entity Mr. Molina brought out, what school district, and you'll definitely see whether it's an ARB, what the ARB value, what the notice value was prior year, what we settled. We did include a value percent of loss, and to all the taxing entities, and then the tax revenue. And then the tax value percent of loss, so that the board members can see that. But anytime a board member has a question, when you're reviewing this in the packet, if you have a specific question that you would like addressed, if you'll just call us, we'll be happy to answer your question. on one that may be in your school district, if you don't want to wait to the meeting, if you have a question, we definitely, anytime, we'll be happy to give you the information that you need, catch you up to date. And thank you, board members, because like Mr. Trimble said, it was through the correlation of all the board members, the different things that they wanted to see on a spreadsheet. You guys know what you need to see to be able to go back to your entities. So we can go to legal size. So, and we even have, what's that, ledger size. So we have a different, I know, right? Yeah. So we can definitely add some, whatever y'all need. But, and we did get clarification that because these are all resolved, they're not considered still under lawsuit. So that's why it can be included in your packet. So when we post the agenda and you guys get your packet, you'll receive this in advance, so you have, a couple of days to look at it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we need a motion to accept the report?
No, so it's not really an action item, it's just a report.
So any further questions on the report? Okay. If there's no further questions, then we'll move on to item 10. Executive session under the authority of Texas Government Code, Section 551.071 and Section 551.074 to discuss legal and personnel matters listed in the agenda.
Thank you. Executive session at 5:58, Commissioner Pettis? Thank you.
Directors are out of executive session. There is no action on item 10A, agenda item number 11. So with that, do we do motions to adjourn to here? Just adjourn. Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting so we can begin the training session, which was scheduled for 6, but we'll get through it.
We have a motion to adjourn,
So
Mr.
moved.
Chairman.
Oh, we don't? Yeah, we. Okay. We don't have a motion to adjourn normally. Okay. So we'll go ahead and, with that, we will open up the next meeting. The time is 6:41. This is a meeting of the Board of Directors training, or it's a training workshop. And we've already done the roll call and pledge of allegiance. But, so item number 1 is the Board of Directors training with the attorney. Before we begin this, before we do that, I guess we'll just, you want to take a few minutes just to get.
Yeah, take a few
through it?
minutes, stretch,
and
get
then,
something to eat, stretch. This is not recorded.
Take it easy, running. Good to see you, brother.